This album is average at best. Hi there, APT Songs here, and we're here with a review of Aaliyah's classic album, One in a Million. Now, the reason I'm reviewing this is because this album recently just became available for streaming like today. And it came out back in 1996, but due to various legal issues with the label that owned it and her parents' estate and stuff like that, like it couldn't come out until now. And so, but back in 96, I was 14 and I was not a fan of R&B music at the time. I was mostly into hip hop and faster songs. As I got older, I liked, R&B stuff. But yeah, so when the album came out, I never actually heard the album. I had never heard the full entire track listing of Aaliyah's One in a Million. I'd heard the singles that came out, but that was it. And so since this is I finally listened to it for the first time like today, I figured it would be fair to give a review for it. So as a person that's now 39 years old and listening to it, what do I feel about the album? And my honest opinion is that for all the acclaim this album's gotten over the years, and I wonder if part of that's because it's been out of circulation, and part of it's been because Aaliyah tragically died young, and because it hasn't been available, there's been a mystique around this album and how great it actually is. But now listening to it without having ever heard it before, I gotta say, if I'm comparing it to R&B albums of the 90s, this album is very average. That doesn't mean that it's the worst album in the world, but it doesn't also mean that it's the most classic album that people made it out to be. And that's just my personal opinion, but we'll get into that. So to start off with, we had another tragic legend pass this year, DMX. And when he died, there were 3 albums in his catalog I had not heard, which are the ones that came after, and then there was X. So I think it was like Year of the Dog, The Great Depression, and then something else. But anyway, so I went through those 3 albums having never heard them before, and as I'm listening to them, I'm like, oh wow, there are actually like quite a few songs in here that I did not hear when he was alive, that if I were to put together a greatest hits list of DMX songs, I'd put some of these songs from these later albums on there. So I'm judging this album on the basis of, if I were to put together a greatest hits album of Aaliyah's songs that I personally like, how many of the songs from this album would go on there? And I'm also comparing it to other works that she put out that I have heard. So her future hits like Try Again, her future hits like Back in One Piece, Are You That Somebody, and her Aaliyah album, which will be coming out later for streaming this year, which I might do a review for also. And so in comparison to those various things, plus her other album, the Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, which is produced by R. Kelly, so we know how you feel about that. But the point is, there were quite a few songs on that album that I actually liked, and I thought that album had a decent pacing. It had a good switch between some songs that were fast and up-tempo and some songs that were slower, and it felt like I liked the whole album, but I liked enough songs in there to at least pick like 4 or 5 songs that I could put on a greatest hits. So for this album, though, I find that this is a situation where, for starters, you have Timbaland and Missy, who are producing the album. It was their first really big project to produce, and a lot of the songs and beats they have on here, it's not that they're bad. It's just that they're very experimental. I can tell that they're still trying to find their sound, because the later songs that Timbaland and Missy did with Aaliyah, I like a whole lot. But some of these earlier ones, I'm not a fan of. Like, for example, One in a Million, classic song, but I've never been a fan of One in a Million, the song itself. It's a weird blend of like trying to be a slow song with a fast up-tempo beat in it, and it just always sounded off to me. And a lot of the songs that they did on this album are like that, where you might have Aaliyah trying to sing a slower song, but then you have these in the background, and it's a distraction for me. Because some of the song lyrics I actually like, but some of the beats are just like not really appealing to my particular taste. And One in a Million was one of those songs. Also of note, the first song on here, Hot Like Fire, I thought I had heard before, and I was very excited to hear on this album. So imagine my surprise when I get to the first song, and the beat on this is drastically different from the version that was released back in 96, 97. Now, on this particular release, they do include that version at the very end. And the difference between the 2 tracks pretty much summarizes how I feel about the album, where the original version of Hot Like Fire was just an okay beat, and Timbaland's still trying to find his groove on how to make Aaliyah sound really dynamic and also be something that could be, comfortable to the masses. And then you get to the Hot Like Fire remix, where the beat it's got a slow groove funk and a nice little mellow beat, and the beat and the drums go together to where it sounds laid back and cool, and it sounds a lot better than the original version. And that's how I feel about a lot of their future stuff. But on this one, a lot of the songs, 4-Page Letter, sorry, I'm not a big fan of 4-Page Letter. I like the lyrics of 4-Page Letter. I do not like the beat of 4-Page Letter. And that's a problem that I have with this album overall. Now, there are some highlights for me personally. I like the song If Your Girl Only Knew. I thought that was an example of, again, nice grooving slow beat with the drums that happen to match it. I also liked A Girl Like You, which I had not heard before, featuring Tretch. Tretch brings some really nice raps on there, and the beat is up-tempo, and they have a good back-and-forth rapport going on the song between him talking about wanting a girl that's like her, then her saying that she is the girl, then going into her lyrics. Like, I like that song. It's a great song, and I wish there were more songs like that on this album that were challenging themselves to be somewhat different, but also still being able to have that earworm that appeals to me. And come to that note also, I think another thing that really takes this album down a peg or two is that she has several songs on here, like back to back, where she's actually singing classic songs. So, for example, she does a song called Choosy Lover, which is an old school song. And literally on the album, she sings an old school version of it and then switches to a new school version of it. But it's like a 7-minute track. So it ends up bloating up the track. And honestly, the new school version of it that she does actually is not better than the old school version that she does. But again, it's not a song that I felt she needed to do for this album. Like, she could have had an original track take the place of that track. But then right after that, she does a version of Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up featuring Slick Rick. Now, Slick Rick on the track, fantastic, brilliant. Aaliyah's voice on the track, sounds great. And in no place in this album, for the most part, is Aaliyah sounding bad. She actually sounds pretty great. But again, this song is not necessary to the album, and you're not outdoing the original version of the song, so why even put it on here? And then why have back-to-backs and then have another, the third track, Everything's Gonna Be All Right, which is like sampling a lyrics. Like, it's just like a lot of those things where she's doing throwbacks. I'm like, it's not necessary. This album's already 17 songs long. If you cut out 3 of the songs or you did remakes, you'd have you'd have a decent 14-song album. Even if I didn't like some of the songs, I could, or add 3 other songs that are originals instead. But yeah, and then you get to the back end of the album where it's not necessarily that she has songs that are terrible. Again, I'm saying this album is average. But the end of this track listing, it's like the last 5 songs back to back are like, I guess, a pre-version of Neo's soul songs, where it's just like slow song after slow song after slow song. And Timberland and Missy tried some stuff, and then Jermaine Dupri tried some stuff, and then some other stuff. And then like the end song, the one I gave my heart to, is like the traditional, I think it's a Dionne Warwick ballad. Like, and that song sounds fine to me. Like, I don't mind slow songs, but again, you have these songs that are trying to be slow mixed with the fast-paced like snap drum thing, and it just, I was sitting in my car listening to it just like, okay, when's the next song coming? Okay, what's this song? Oh God, it's another slow song. Okay, I started yawning. I was driving and I was yawning because I was just like, it's again, it's not that it's bad, but it's just, it doesn't have the driving force that I need for it to be entertaining to me. So as much as I was anticipating this album, because I had never heard it before, and I was excited to hear things beyond what I had heard when I heard, just beyond the singles, because I heard 1 in a Million, I heard Hot Like Fire, I'd heard 4-Page Letter, and I wanted to see what else was there to offer. And if I were going through this entire track list of songs that I would put on a greatest hits album, honestly, I'd put A Girl Like You, If Your Girl Only Knew, maybe possibly Got to Give It Up, and then it goes to like Hot Like Fire, the remix version. Like, most of this is just kind of like, it's there. I can see that she was trying to experiment, and that's admirable. I think she did a lot better job with her experiments when she was doing her singles for the movie she was in, as well as on the Aaliyah album. But this one, it seems like she's still trying to find her sound. It sounds like Timberland and Missy are still trying to find how to make their beats and what kind of songs to write that are going to be good for artists. Like, it just sounds like a bunch of beginners trying to figure out how to make this thing called music and make it sound as best they can. And it's admirable. And there are a couple of songs in here that are pretty decent. But overall, like I said, it's an average album. I can think of a bunch of other artists that have made songs similar to the ones on this album that did a better job than what she did with some of the songs on here. So that's not to try to insult Aaliyah. I know people are going to be mad that I'm like, I'm disrespecting the dead. I was alive when this came out, and I think I maybe heard a couple of songs off it at that time, and I was like, this is just not for me. And I thought maybe, because I'm 14, that maybe as I get older, I'll like some more of these sounds. And some albums from back then, I like a lot more now. This is my first couple of times listening to this one. I cannot imagine myself wanting to re-listen to this whole album. I picked like 4 songs off here, put those on a greatest hits list, and then leave the rest to pass. So for those of you that like the album, fantastic. I'm not saying it's a horrible album at all. I'm saying overall, it doesn't appeal to my sensibilities, and it's not the best album in the world that I've heard. It is really an album that is average at best. I think she went on to make better songs and better albums, and this one was a good starting point. But from here, I could definitely see whereby if I was reviewing it as a 14-year-old, I'd be like, I could see room for improvement. So that's my review of Aaliyah's One in a Million. What did you think of the album? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Had you heard it before and then you're hearing it now and still like it? Did you not like it before and do like it? Do you not like it then and you don't like it now? Leave your comments down below and we can talk about it. So that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back with some more reviews to you all. If you have any albums you want me to review in particular, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm APT Songs. I'll catch you later. Peace.